This is interesting. We've talked about it before, how you've seen, like you'll see people get really big in something, right? Because they have a really good grasp or understanding of it. So they start sharing it, teaching it, helping others. But then they start to get a really big ego because all these people are like fascinated by them and telling them they're right and they're great and they're wonderful. And they are. And it's like they've started to learn the laws of the universe, right? And so then they share that. But because they are continuing to learn themselves and grow and heal and do better and go with that flow, it's like the more they do that, it's like the less they resonate with those who follow them who are not in the flow yet. And so again, one, it like builds up, it starts building up their ego. So they have to be careful of that. And because you've heard me reference it before where they show it where, because eventually the ego smashes and crumbles and it just is devastating. But it's not, I mean, that is what happens and that can be challenging, but it's like, it's because it's time for the new to come up where they have more truth because they're resonating more with the current times where they are just mastering and understanding, right, themselves. This is the idea of like the younger come up because it is like, building on from what the previous had taught, but now the previous is no longer, it's not that they're relevant. It's not that they're not truthful. It's not any of that. And sometimes it is the ego smashing thing, but it's more than that. They're showing more than that. They're showing it's like because they've, just bear with me, like because they have mastered the laws of the universe and everything has gone so smoothly for them for so long, they can't understand or resonate, or they're tired of resonating or listening to those who don't get it, because it's like what we talk about, like how it really can end up then lowering your vibration. And then it's like all that hard work you did. It's like, did you learn that lesson, right? It's just one more lesson to learn. And so it's like, it's the idea of retiring on time, right? Or they shown it before, like letting go of a series while it's on top, right? Instead of trying to milk it to the end, and then it no longer becomes legendary, or in that it becomes old and forgotten because it outstayed its welcome, right? It stayed too long. They didn't jump off the wheel in time to live a long, happy life, right? They let their ego get the better of them, where they wanted to remain relevant. They wanted it now for the clout, the fame, the money. Even though they had all that, they just got greedy, right? It's that idea. But it was more than that. It wasn't, because it wasn't so much to the negative, the greedy aspect or the ego aspect. It really wasn't. It was more towards they were no longer relevant, but it's still the wrong way to phrase it. It's just like each generation experiences the same thing, but in a whole new way, or a whole new level, or a whole new understanding. So when you can speak that lingo, when you can understand it in real time, right? You're up to speed, you're up to date with the current wave or generation or whatever. It's easier to break through to them, right? So it's still the same underlying truth, but if you're speaking like in ancient terms or whatever, they can't even hear it because they can't resonate with you. You're some old fuddy-duddy that they don't want to talk about even like sex with, because they're like, ew, gross, right? Like, and then that does hit that old teacher's ego or, whatever. So I'm trying to get it out in a way that they showed it that I thought was fascinating, because it wasn't meant to be mean. It wasn't like mean of the elderly or the old leaders, but that's what they were showing, all the elderly or these old leaders that had to go, but it was like the refusal to go because they I don't know what. It's like, because again, it was partly ego, but it wasn't like it has been in the past. It wasn't as loud as that or as obnoxious as that. It was softer. That was more of a soft undercurrent, but not the dominant reasoning. It was more of like, I wish I could verbalize better that the feeling and the energy, it was like the best I can say is they just couldn't resonate, right? Like they no longer were resonating, but they knew what they were saying was true. That's what it was. So they were getting frustrated because they were still speaking truth, but people no longer resonated with them. They were just too old. They were too ancient. They were too out of date, out of touch. But at the same hand, you could look at that as a good thing. They've been so accustomed with living in the flow that they no longer resonate with the lower energies or the current time of the lower energies. So it's like, well, then float in the bliss of that understanding and knowing and go live your life. Stop trying to prove it. Just go live it. And it was like they didn't want to give that up. And so that's why it was like still that soft undercurrent of ego and refusal to accept what is. So it was like still falling short of universal flow, falling short of full truth and understanding. So they were starting to slip, which means they can crash and burn, because we talk about this, where it's like if the more tightly they hold on to it, the more they attempt to grip it, the more they attempt to tell the universe no and demand they stay where they're at, the more they're resisting and the more it's going to be taken away, because what you resist persists. So it's going to cause the ego to continue to swell the more they attempted to control. And then eventually it's like they're showing all these people maybe at that pivotal point where they can release and let go and trust the universal flow, allowing it's like the new crop to emerge, or they can grip tightly and go out embarrassed with a smashed ego and looked upon poorly, right? It's like, it's that idea. They keep showing this series again, which I think is a really good example. It's like shows that were fantastic, and if they left on top, they'd still be around today. And that's funny because I cannot think of any, but I know there were shows that used to be a thing. Like we used to talk about when that would occur, like, oh my God, it was so good, until it wasn't. But now we forget them. We don't even know what was so good until it wasn't, because you forget them. You forgot all about them. You forgot they ever existed. But the ones that were so good, I wish they were still around. I wish they would, whatever, because they left on top. They went out on top. So we still love them. We still wish they were around, right? And there is a sweet spot, like going out too soon. Like even though the first season was a hit, the second season was a hit, but if they went out then it's like, well, we didn't get in bed with the characters enough. We loved it. We thought it was great. We were excited for more, and we didn't get more, and so we forgot them too. So there is that sweet spot. And it can be hard to find it, right? It really can be challenging to discover it. But if you're so lucky to relax and let go and go with that flow and understand all the laws to know, then whew, it can be bliss. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.